Hi everyone, welcome to Otakusphere Weekly. I'm Karen, and with me tonight are Sal,
Yo.
LB,
Hello.
and Lifesong.
Hello.
Now, LB, before we get started on this week's anime, I think you wanted to mention some things about Sword Art Online Hollow Fragment, which I'm kind of interested in because even though I haven't seen it, I've seen Wilson play a bunch of it, so I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, well, it's a year old now, so most people who are interested in the game, know about it by now, but it's new to me because I couldn't afford to spend $60 on it. So when I saw that it was on sale for 20, I was like, okay, I'll treat myself. So I picked it up, and it's interesting, sorta, kinda. I'm having fun with it, I'm gonna play it as much as I can for the next little while. It's just the thing that grabs me about it is the way that they kind of retcon the end of season 1, and in order to bring in all these female characters who didn't have anything to do with the Aincrad arc.
Yeah, it's interesting what they did. And I know there are some people who really don't like the anime for Sword Art Online, but think like the storyline in the game is worthwhile, which is interesting to me.
Hey,
Yeah.
I got a question. Quick question.
Yeah.
Hollow Fragment, was that before or after Lost Song?
Before.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
So,
Life.
yeah.
And they even had a deal where when the game first came out, I think if you got it, you actually got Hollow Fragment for free as a bundle.
Yeah,
during
I
the
think I
first
have.
week.
I think I have all of them. I'm looking. I think I even have one of them in Japanese. I'm like, I haven't played any of these. What am I doing buying all this stuff?
One day you'll have time to play all the games you buy, it'll be paradise.
I hope so.
But anyway, I'm sorry, you were going to say about it, LB?
Oh, I was just saying that that part is grabby because I think it's kind of interesting how they kind of shoehorned every female character, regardless if they had anything to do with Aincrad, into the game. I thought that was interesting. I haven't gotten far enough into it to determine if the story is really worthwhile yet. But the mechanics are interesting. It's complicated. It's a little more complicated than I'm used to. But I'm getting used to that.
Yeah, for some reason, whenever I see Wilson playing it, the battle system just doesn't look appealing to me. I don't know why that is.
It's complicated because
It's,
you've got the battle button, and then you've got the dodge button, and then you've got to hit L1 and occasionally praise your partner or tell them or give them different commands, and then you got to hit L1 or R1 and choose your special attacks, and it's just so many buttons.
And this is the one before it became action style.
Yeah.
Well, it is action style.
Yeah,
Hollow
it's action style. It's basically it basically plays like an MMO without actually being an MMO.
Well, okay.
Yeah, so that's another interesting aspect to me because I don't really like MMOs, but I'm still playing this.
Yeah. Well, see, my standard of reference for that sort of thing is the original Dot Hack quadrilogy. So that I really liked, and then even when they went back and made the second series of Dot Hack games, they changed the formula too much, and I didn't like it. So if I'm looking at something that's in that genre, but it doesn't remind me of Dot Hack, I don't want to play it.
Interesting, because I thought the second trilogy did a better job at improving the game compared to the original four.
Not for me. For me, it was much more fun in the original game, just going into a million dungeons and collecting items and trying to get the best equipment you could. And it seemed like because I did play through the first game of Dot Hack GU, and it just seemed like all the dungeons look the same and you don't get that many items. So it's why am I dungeon crawling if I'm not getting loot? This isn't fun. So, I don't know. Maybe that was just me, and I just need a stupid amount of items because I'm greedy. I don't know, but.
I don't know, because for me, I thought the progression was better because there was no virus cores, and I thought that was the most annoying thing in the quadrilogy, after the first game, because you had to get virus cores from low-level areas. So.
See, I find grinding and doing repetitive tasks in games therapeutic, so that's why Dot Hack was so good for me. I freely admit that's not that doesn't really speak well of the game that I enjoyed that, but I did. Okay, I'm sorry, we're getting off topic of it. I want to say, as long as we're on the topic of Sword Art Online Hollow Fragment, let me say something I've noticed about the game that I really don't think spoils you, because, I mean, that there's, you can have, like, relationship, you can, like, improve your relationship with the different girls until you get different scenes, right?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Right. Well, but the thing is, this is the only game I've ever seen that has stuff like that, where all the girls involved know you're in a relationship with Asuna, and, like, the game itself knows you're in a relationship with Asuna. So whenever, like, you get to, like, the high affection level scenes with all those girls, like, it's never anything special, because they're always like, oh, if only, you know, you weren't already in a relationship with Asuna, maybe we'd do something, ha ha. It's like friggin' like, it's like Jewish Guilt, the RPG. You date all these girls.
Sorry.
You date all these girls who are, like, best friends with your girlfriend, and you're like, oh, if only you two weren't such a perfect match, maybe we'd have something here, but we know you're loyal to her, so ha ha, that's fine. It's hilarious.
Yeah, that's kind of why, I kind of expected that, which is why I spend all my time building up my affection with Asuna and kind of ignore the other girls.
You're a good guy, LB.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, you know what? What's the point?
Yeah, there really is no point. I mean, I guess if you like the artwork, you get, like, some art of them in, like, different clothing or something. Woo. But, you know, nothing salacious, because that would be cheating on Asunas.
Yeah, totally.
Sal, you're gonna say?
Oh, Life. The one you're referring to that was more action was Lost Song, which followed more of Fairy Dance's mechanics, so you don't really level up in that game, but instead you have the weapon and magic masteries, like in the Fairy Dance rules.
Got it. Yeah, so maybe that's the one I should start with, since I've got all of them.
That sounds more fun to me, actually. But I don't know. At this rate, I'm not going to play any of them. But we'll see. I'm sorry.
An interesting life. It was developed by the same people that did the Macross games on the PSP and PS3.
I haven't played those, so that doesn't mean they're that much to me, but interesting.
Well, I think they were known from having really fun dogfights and aerial battles. So.
Okay, cool. That's
which I know Lost Song, which I know Fairy Dance. And, like, in Lost Song, you actually do have a bit of aerial fights, too.
Cool. It looks pretty. That's all the more I know about it right now.
Okay, and before we move on to the anime, LB, you had something else you wanted to mention, but I don't remember what it was.
Just briefly, I always am watching something old, just to, you know, whenever I'm bored or need something in the background while I'm playing on my tablet or whatever, I watch something a little bit older, and lately I decided to pick up El Cazador de la Bruja. I'm not sure how many of you have watched that.
I don't think I've even heard of it.
I think I watched a couple of episodes of it back when it
first... it's the last series in the Girls with Gun trilogy from B-Train. It was preceded by Noir and Madlax.
Yeah, okay.
If you've seen Noir or Madlax, you've seen El Cazador. It's pretty much the same thing. It just
I made it through Noir. I didn't make it through Madlax, and I didn't make it through El Cazador. I like Noir.
Yeah, so, you know, if you didn't make it through those first two, you probably won't make it through the third.
Oh, are they all in the same universe, or they just happen to have similar themes?
They all have similar themes, because they're all created by the same studio, same writer, same director, and they pretty much have the same theme: girls with guns and assassins, and so, you know, this one isn't my favorite of the trilogy, but I decided to pick it up again anyway, and it's, you know, still holding up okay in my opinion, but, you know, your mileage may vary.
Okay, I wish I had something to add, but this is one of those series I have no familiarity with, so...
No worries.
Okay, and I don't think anyone else has anything besides LB, right? Because we all just had enough trouble keeping up on anime this week, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so let's move right on to Yuri on Ice episode 5, which features a line from Yuri that's something like, "I am an enticing pork cutlet bowl femme fatale that seduces men."
Yes.
I don't even... I thought the pork cutlet thing was going to be like a one-off joke, but no, they're committed to it. It's yeah. So, okay, I really enjoyed this episode, but I find myself kind of... The only thing I really remember about it that I wanted to mention was how confusing I find current figure skating scoring. Because when I was a kid, I remember when I used to watch the Olympics, like back in the 90s, like, I think they were graded out of 6 or 7. They would get like a score for technical achievement, a score for artistic merit, and then the two would be averaged or something like that. But now, like, every single element has its own point value or something, and I don't think without being a figure skater it's like possible to understand the way scoring works in figure skating. So I'm just kind of watching
maybe it's for a specific style of figure skating, or maybe it's their own version of it. Would be something interesting to research for the next episode.
Trying to remain as accurate and faithful to real life as possible. So I'm actually in the same boat as Karen. I don't really understand the scoring. I'm just kind of going with it and assuming that they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, here's the thing that's weird about it, though, because back when I was a kid and I used to really like watching figure skating on TV, like, falling was a huge deal. I think skaters got a huge deduction every time they fell. And it seems like the new system is additive instead of subtractive, so they get points for, like, whatever they land, and they purposely did that to reward skaters for being ambitious, which is why you see things like quad jumps now and stuff like that. But that's how you can have Yuri falling like 2 or 3 times during his program, and then he gets a huge score, and it's supposedly his best performance. But as someone who like watched most figure skating like many, many years ago, I'm just like, wait, but shouldn't he have gotten a big deduction for like falling and banging his head into the wall? But apparently not. So.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'll say, from what I was seeing, it looks like the reason why it isn't too bad is the fact that he kind of maintained that rhythm while performing, whereas if he stayed down for like maybe more than a second, the deduction would be even bigger.
Well, I shouldn't talk about this because I really don't know the details of how it works, but I don't think there's a deduction for falling itself. I think like there's a maximum of, say, like, I don't know, 50 points you can get for a triple axel, and then if you fall on the end, you get like 35 instead of 40. But you don't get like an actual deduction for falling, I think. Yeah, this is gonna be something I'm gonna have to correct in the show notes. I'm probably completely wrong, but I've been thinking about this more than I should. LB, what do you think of this episode in general?
There were a lot of things about this episode that caught me. I totally agree with you. I have a note that not so much that I was confused about the scoring, just in general, it seemed very weird to me that this was a national competition, but all these skaters were like making a lot of mistakes and falling and just tripping up in general. It's like, at a national level, they shouldn't be making this many mistakes.
Once again, I'm tempted to say more, but my figure skating knowledge is like 15 years out of date. But I think it's because
maybe I'm totally off, but
I think it's because they keep trying to. Like, I think for like decades in the middle of the 20th century, like at high level competitions, you really wouldn't see mistakes. But as the athleticism has gotten better and the nutrition has gotten better and so on and so forth, like they're doing more and more to push more and more ambitious, like more rotations on the jumps and making spins faster and longer. And because of that, because it's more kind of on the edge of what humans are capable of, you see more falls and more stuff like that. But,
okay, I haven't watched ice skating in
Karen,
a while.
they also said that this match was kind of it wasn't really a real national, it was a preliminary before the national.
Okay.
Like, that's another factor,
they
too.
They called it a free, but whatever that means.
Yeah.
Well, the free skate is the 4-minute or so skate, and the as opposed to the short program, which is 2 minutes. Yeah. Yeah,
because even in the previous episode, it said like, because of what happened to Yuri in the last competition, he had to start from the bottom before going to the big games. So he's still in the smaller competitions.
Okay, well, I openly admit that I might be totally off. It just seemed weird to me.
Yeah.
The other thing that really caught my attention is I'm really enjoying watching the relationship between Yuri and Victor. I really like it. I think I posed this question in the chat room. There's room that you could say possibly, maybe, sorta, kind of, a little, that maybe Victor is in love with Yuri, but I'm not 100% ready to say that. It just seems like maybe that way, or it could be just completely mutual professional respect between the two. But I'm just really enjoying watching the relationship grow and develop. I think that's really great. Though some of the things Victor says, like, dance like you're trying to seduce me, it's like, if I said that to anybody body, I'd get sued. Unless I said it with a Russian accent. Then maybe I could get away with it.
Yeah, if you just put on your Victor-like charm, I'm sure you could pull it off.
Okay, cool. I'll keep that in mind at the next class I teach.
Just don't blame me when you get sued.
Okay.
Oh man. Speaking of which, like if this show ends up getting dubbed, Victor better have a good Russian accent, whoever voices him.
They've actually done. It is dubbed right now.
Funimation's doing it, right?
Yeah, Funimation is simul-dubbing it, and all the Russian characters are being coached. All the actors are being coached on Russian accents.
Ooh, nice.
I may have to try watching just at least the first episode of the dub on Yuri on Ice, see how they're.
Yeah, I watched the first episode. You could tell that the actors were being coached, but they're not like bad. Mm-hmm. So you could definitely tell that, they're not natural. So
here's a question for simul dubs. Is that going to be the final dub we're going to hear when it comes out on home release, or will they improve the dub for the home release version?
They'll probably improve it, depending on, how the animation changes, if any lines get changed, that kind of thing. So it's probably not the final product.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's another process I'd like to have more information on, but I guess we'll just have to wait on that because there's no information forthcoming. Life Song, you've been quiet so far. What do you think of this episode?
I think I'm probably the least excited with it. The animation is just driving me crazy. They're repeating the same animation over and over again, and it's not even good animation. It's just trying way too hard. I don't know. It's really taking me out of the experience watching watching scenes that like they'll have in between scenes that like on a face or something. It's like that's up there for like 5 seconds on the screen, and then they repeat it again. Like, why are you doing that? I can't ignore that.
Yeah, I guess I guess I'm just kind of so into it that it just I don't. Like I'm not nitpicking, but if you're not as into it, then it must stick out like a sore thumb.
I like it. I like Yuri on Ice. I like what the story is doing, but then I'm like watching the episode and I'm cringing when they're doing a lot of the ice skating, and most of this episode was ice skating, but it also kind of feels like they put more effort into everyone else's routine than they do with Yuri's.
That I have kind of noticed, and that's weird. I think they're trying to make all the other skaters, not just, be a blur, like they want them to have personality too. But then it's like, I feel like Yuri's performance isn't sexy enough considering how we keep getting sold about how, he's the sexiest pork cutlet bowl.
Yeah, they keep saying these ridiculous things, but they're not really demonstrating it. And part of the reason it's bothering me so much is I don't know anything about ice skating. So I'm relying entirely on the visuals to kind of balance that out and show me what's going on. They're not doing that. I'm seeing a strong contrast between what they're telling me and what the story's saying and wanting me to believe, and I'm watching the animation. I'm like, that's not as impressive as what they're telling me it is.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point that I hadn't considered. I mean, maybe for people who've watched figure skating before, the fact that it's kind of vague and sketchy in some points isn't as much of a turnoff. We just kind of, I know what they're going for here,
I don't. I'm trying to hang in there, and I think for the most part I am. Like the one bit I really did like was the part where Yuri finds his zone and he just goes into it and he starts having fun toward the end of the episode. I like that a lot. It's like, okay, I get that. I have no idea about this figure skating thing or why he's not being booed out of there for being terrible. I don't get why that's going on, but I do get the zone and the fun, and so okay, I can relate to the character even though I completely don't get the figure skating.
Okay, Sal?
Like, I've guessed you never ice skated in any form before life?
No, I mean, for my part, I can kind of compare what I'm watching to, like, competitive, like, martial arts performances.
Oh, what about roller skating? Have you ever done that before life, like roller skating or rollerblading?
No, when I was younger, those things were incredibly dangerous for me. I would have killed myself.
Well, that just kind of took us to a dark place.
Sorry.
Getting back to LB's point, I think Victor's kind of a cipher. I think you could read it as Victor is kind of, as a lover of figure skating, is in love with Yuri's skating because he loves the way Yuri, at least, according to the writers, whether or not the visuals are portraying this. Yuri is a very much a storytelling kind of a skater rather than a technical skater, and that's what Victor loves. Or you could read it as Victor loves Yuri, romantically. And I think the show is, very intentionally leaving that ambiguous.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's becoming increasingly unambiguous that Yuri really loves Victor, but that's something else.
Oh yeah, totally.
So, okay, so we're gonna move on from one end of the fan service spectrum to the other, to Keijo episode 5. This was a surprisingly compelling episode with a girl's butt that was also a dog. So.
Wait, what?
It was a demon. You gotta get it right. She had a demon in her butt.
And she actually called it by name.
Yeah, it was like Cerberus, basically.
And it was the one in control of her body.
Yeah, okay, this is why I don't give up Twitter, because after that episode aired, I wish I could name drop whoever did this, but someone had a tweet like showing a screenshot from that episode saying dragon butt is a painful affliction that affects 1 out of 10 women.
Right.
Talk to your doctor about dragon butt.
Dude.
And this is why I can't quit Twitter, even though it's probably bad for me. I'll miss the Keijo jokes.
This episode almost killed me. I think Keijo's trying to kill me. I'm not the oxygen thing again. It's like, oh yeah, you need to breathe when you're laughing.
Yeah, I mean, it was utterly predictable the way what's her name, Nozomi pulls out the vacuum butt cannon, and then the instructor kind of scolds her, but it's like, oh, but you did so well. It's like you were born to use the vacuum butt cannon, but it's like such a.
Yeah, I'm not even bothered by the fact that it's predictable, because it's so... It's got this aspect of it that's so ridiculous that it like... Are they really going... Like, you know how the structure is going to play out, but you're like, are they really going to go where I think they're going to go with this... With the ridiculous angle of how it gets accomplished? And then they do it tenfold.
I hesitate to use this term, because I feel like it's been so abused over the past few years, but it really is kind of a deconstruction of sports anime.
Yeah, I don't even really know what that term means exactly, but I think I get what you mean in this particular case.
Yeah, like in terms that they're using stuff that would usually be seen in ecchi and fan service stuff, but using it in a sports angle, basically.
Yes, but also just something about the way the utter seriousness with which it's approached, and the fact that the attacks that everything is getting increasingly ridiculous in no way affects how seriously the characters take it.
Yeah, no, not at all. The story is actually compelling. I like that it is compelling, and then you get done with it and you're like, holy shit! I just watched a girl with demon butt lose to a girl with vibrator butt. What?
And don't forget about the boob shoryuken.
Oh yeah, that happened too.
Wait, did I miss that?
Yeah. She did a booby shoryuken like that. Like that was her combo attack.
Yeah. They even wrote it in hiragana. They even wrote it like.
Yeah, that was Kerberos' true form.
Oh right, his true form. Oh right, because she had to use her boob and her butt in concert to be like, because then she was like the hunter with the dog. Like,
right.
Like her boobs were the hunter, and her ass was the hound. Yeah.
Well, the butt was being controlled by the demon, so the boobs were her. So that was the combo. They're working together.
That's deep, man. Well, so anything further about Keijo, Sal?
Can't wait to see what they're gonna do next week.
Yeah, that's pretty much all you can say at this point, right? Like, well, how are they going to top themselves now?
Yeah,
I'm sure they will. But...
And it was also good that Alba got to rank up because of her abilities and how she handled that fight.
Yeah, that was kind of sweet how at the end she's like, oh, I'm the only one who lost.
And that hypnosis was actually an illegal technique.
Titty hypnosis should always be illegal, let me tell you.
Yeah, I mean, like, you drown people if you don't have medics. So
yeah.
That's probably a bad thing.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to move on to Flip Flappers episode 5, which decided to go all horror this week, and I was proud of myself that I managed to get through the whole thing without being too freaked out, because usually I'm not a horror fan. I guess just Flip Flappers just had the right touch that it didn't really bother me. At the same time, I'm not really sure I understood what the hell was going on, so Lifesong, I need you to tell me, like, what the deal was with the doll, because apparently you understand what the deal was with the doll.
Oh, what was it you didn't understand?
So the doll kept turning around even after they Coconut turned it to face the wall. Why was it doing that?
Time was resetting.
Oh, it's that simple? Oh, okay. I thought maybe there was like some other...
No, it was creepy as shit, but the doll actually wasn't possessed. It was just... It was there to make you think that there was something creepy going on with the doll, and really just be distracting and creepy. And really, it was as simple as time was resetting, and at midnight, time would reset right before the last chime.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if the time was actually resetting, or if they were just living very similar days without remembering. I guess it really... Functionally, it's the same thing.
Yeah, time was resetting. That was what was going on. They were stuck in a time loop.
Yeah, and let's see. And I like the relationship they have with Yayaka, where they're rivals, but that doesn't completely cancel out the fact that they were once friends, and like it's an uncomfortable situation, and they all realize it's an uncomfortable situation. Well, except for Paprika, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, Paprika's just incapable of that, though. So yeah.
Yeah, but I thought about after they got back from Pure Illusion, and the girls, Coconut and Paprika, had the fragments. And I was wondering if Yayaka was going to take it from them. And then when she didn't, I was wondering about that. And I was like, is it possible that, it's one thing for them to fight in Pure Illusion, but fighting in the real world would just be like a step too far, like Yayaka won't go there?
Maybe. I also got the feeling that like she was considering doing it and didn't. Like,
yeah, cause it could have been that.
Like she backed off.
But, like, okay, what was the point of this episode other than proving that the creators could be really creepy if they want to?
Well, other than the really creepy stuff, they did some interesting things, like with the character relationships. In particular, they played up the whole, everyone wants this show to be a Yuri show, and they even had the shipping eyes on the little creepy robot, who at the end was like getting confused and mixing the symbols up, and all of that being part of Pure Illusion, part of the make believe.
Why do they even have that robot? It hasn't done anything since episode 1, has it?
It follows them around and it's creepy as shit. I don't. Other than that,
Watch, we're gonna find out it's like Kokona's older brother's brain in there or something.
It might be. It is. I mean, like, it is demonstrating little things, like its eyes in this episode doing the whole Yuri thing. Like, I don't know if you missed it or not, but the flowers that they had, those were the Yuri flowers that they had in the vase. They were playing up the whole Yuri schoolgirl fantasy gone horribly wrong angle. It was kind of subtle, but not at the same time. If you know what you're looking for.
Yeah, I guess I misplaced my Yuri goggles because I didn't. Wasn't even.
It was the flower. I mean, Yuri is Lily. Is that's the translation of it, and they had the lilies there in the episode. So I'm like, yeah, I'm fairly confident I got that one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I really got a lot out of the episode in terms of, like, plot or story or character or anything like that, but I'm just so impressed with the visuals in Flip Flappers because it's been really fun to watch so far, just kind of having all these explosions of bright color, and this episode, for the most part, the palette was so muted, and it was still really compelling just to look at, like, the way everything was framed. So I'm always just, like, I think with Flip Flappers, I may actually just be so impressed with kind of, like, the craftsmanship of it, that whatever's, like, actually going on is completely secondary.
I think also with Flip Flappers, one thing that's worth pointing out is that it does really good every single episode. Like, each episode kind of stands on its own. Like, if I had seen this on its own, I wouldn't have felt like, well, I would have felt compelled to watch the rest, but I wouldn't have felt like I didn't understand what was going on.
You might have felt you didn't understand what was going on.
I'd have been very confused, but I was very confused with the original beginning too.
Okay.
It's kind of like, I don't know how interchangeable it is, but every they do build on each other. Every episode, though, I come away feeling like that was an incredible episode. It's not like, okay, well, that was cool. I can't wait to see the next episode and see how it expands on what I just got. Every single episode is, oh, that was cool.
Yeah, if there were like an anime Oscars, they should like win some kind of award for art direction or something. There probably is.
Absolutely.
What?
Yeah, I think there are some, but I don't know the details. I don't keep up.
Yeah, more industry insider stuff we're not knowledgeable enough about. Okay, moving on to Izetta 6, an episode that kind of annoyed me this week, just from the very beginning, where the dude is like, he overhears the secret, then he runs back to camp, and then he yells out loud, "I just learned a secret about Izetta!" And then Mr. German Spy is like, "Oh, how interesting, please elaborate."
I actually like this episode quite a bit, I don't know. I totally see what you're coming from, though.
I mean, after that, the way it played out was more interesting to me. Like, that was the only thing that was really, really annoying to me, but I don't know.
Yeah, they clearly wanted to rush through his part in the story and just get it over with, and I certainly see that as a negative. But I also was okay with how that played out, because I like what else was going on in the show, and I do kind of feel like this episode was mostly like setting up for future events. But I don't know. I really liked it anyway. They had the whole, with real politicians, when you see them doing the "I'm a normal person" thing. I go out and do these normal people things. Like, yeah, everyone looks at that with extreme skepticism, and no, go away, go home. And then when you've got it going on here, it's like with Fine, there's no question. It's like they make her into like the perfect politician in a sense, where it's 100% believable.
Why can't we have Fine for president?
Well, in her case, it's because she earned the people's trust even before she ruled the kingdom. So
yeah, I get that too. But yeah. you have her successfully pulling off the whole "I'm a normal person who likes pie," and normally that when you see that kind of thing in an anime, it's like, oh, it's the dumb moe thing, and it's easy to get caught on that. I guess in particular, I really like when they do that sort of a thing while there's this really serious, deadly backdrop of this awful tone in the background that's kind of not ignored, but that kind of adds a different flavor to it. I don't know how else to better describe that.
Right. Sal, what'd you think of this episode?
Yeah, I enjoyed it, but at the same time, I do agree with you what they did with the kid, especially what happened to him at the end of the episode. I'm like, yeah, that's it for that character? Like, that's it? That's all you're gonna do with him? Like, it seemed like he was gonna stick around throughout the whole series.
I think that really what his part in the story was to enhance the blue-haired dude. I can't remember his name now, but
Sieg, I think.
Sieg. Yes, thank you. I think it was LB that was talking about how he had a sense for how Sieg was going to be the bad guy earlier.
Yeah.
I think that they've gone in a slightly different direction, maybe, than what LB was thinking, but they put his cards on the table. We know what he's about now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. LB, how'd you find this episode?
I was pretty meh about this episode up until the last 30 seconds or so when they, off the kid. Up until that point, I thought the episode was pretty paint by numbers, pretty predictable. Kid discovers secret, kid goes back, and the very first person that he talks to happens to be the spy. And it's just like, yeah, okay, fine, let's go with that. And then, they went through the motions, and then at the very end, the last 30 seconds, I didn't see that coming. But the rest of it, I was just kind of meh. I wasn't overly impressed with this episode.
Yeah, it felt a little bit fillerish.
Yeah.
The German spy thing, though.
Speaking of which, like, that kind of leads to a concern I have a little bit with Izetta. Like, we have this type of episode in episode 6. This is going to be a 12-episode series. How will the rest of the story be paced, If this war is going to end in episode 12, or if there's going to be some big thing, like, will it feel rushed? Will it still be paced decently?
I think we're missing, or I think they actually accomplished a whole lot in this one episode. I don't know, maybe it didn't feel like it because they were eating pie, but I think they actually did cram a whole lot of world building and not necessarily plot twists, but set up for what they're going to do in the ending of and the rest of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was like a lot of functional stuff, like setting up what the Germanians are doing, and I feel silly saying Germanians. I should just say Germans. But I I kind of feel like, yeah, I mean, for the most part, other than like the first minute, this episode really didn't do anything egregiously wrong, but like I just kind of feel like the bloom's off the rose with Izetta, because like the first 2 or 3 episodes were so cool.
I think I know what it is for me. Like, for me, I kind of felt that type of episode would be more suited in a 24-episode series. So that's why I'm a little bit worried, like the way how it was paced. So. Well,
yeah, they did something with that kid that could have been longer and could have been more involved. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't. I'm not like. I feel like I want to defend the show because I thought this was a pretty good episode, personally, better than last week, and I feel like I came away with it with a sense of I know where they're going. But yeah, I also totally recognize the problems you're all pointing out.
Yeah, I mean, I want to like it more.
Oh yeah, I didn't want to put out. I did enjoy the whole scene with the pie, with the bakery. Like, that was fun.
Yeah, I like what they were doing with it, and I think I haven't read too much on what other people are saying on it, but I as one of those scenes I'm watching, like, I know people are going to underestimate how much was actually accomplished in this scene.
I feel like you're picking a fight with me. No, not really.
I mean, if you want to take it that way, I'm happy to debate it.
Seriously, I'm going back over and just thinking, like, I think they did actually accomplish a lot from, like, a nuts and bolts kind of perspective. I just wasn't that enamored of it, you know?
No, I get you. I'll also add that, like, I kind of said this earlier, but I like it when you've got, like, the sort of characters trying to be lighthearted and that lighthearted sort of moe aspect while real serious things are getting set up in the background. It's like that's just something I particularly like.
That's usually a thing I've seen in a couple war series. Like even in the heat of combat, you still have those one episodes that everyone just relaxes while you build up for the next big thing.
Yeah, and you know that the thing they're building up for is going to be terrible and tragic, and you're thinking about it while they're sitting there eating pie. It was something that I feel like for example, Sword Art Online pulled off really well, and they did it much better than what I'm seeing in Izetta. But it's just something that I like.
Okay, so I'm interested to see where the next episode leaves us in terms of our differing opinions on the series. Not that,
but I think as we were saying, like, since next week's gonna be episode 7, this is gonna be the one that'll probably make or break what we think how it's gonna end up. So
yeah, I kind of expect something big to happen, but I'm not entirely sure what that'll be.
Yeah, especially since Izetta and the princess and the queen and they're going to Britannia, so that means their land is going to be left unguarded. So.
Well, any guesses on what's in Hangar 9?
Yeah,
maybe it's like evil cyborg witches cloned from Izetta. I don't know.
Right?
Something connected to witches, since we know Germania's emperor is obsessed with them. So
yeah, there's something crazy in there.
He's probably connected as to why there aren't that many why Izetta's the last witch, as to one of the factors that led to the witch's extinction.
Oh, that's I hadn't considered that, but they might go there. You're right.
That's an interesting possibility. I'm intrigued to see where that turns out. Moving on to things with much less intrigue. Uta no Prince-sama, episode 6. This episode was kind of dumb and cheesy, and then it was 2 guys basically like, I want main character girl. No, you shall not have her. I want main character girl. And it was like very, very transparent and just lame about it. But on the other hand, the season of Uta Pri has been so boring, I kind of welcomed it. I was like, yes, fight over Nanami. I will enjoy this. So I liked it better than the last couple episodes we've had, as dumb as it was. LB?
I actually agree with you. I think that this was probably one of the better episodes of the season, mostly because it was just a nice welcome change of pace instead of the usual conflict of, the 2 get together and, the Stars member is all excited about the duet and the other member is like, whatever. That seems like has been like the pattern for like pretty much every episode this season. This episode, they didn't even bring up the duet really up until the end. It was all about Nanami, and I was like, okay, I'll totally go with that.
Didn't the duet? Well, a lot of the duets have some funny names. Like in the last episode, it was Visible Elf. But what was the name of the duet in this episode? It was something funny.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Nanami, I would love you forever because you are the only girl worth loving. Or so. Oh, it was. I think it was like innocent eyes or lovely eyes or something, which I think is hilarious, given that they always draw Nanami with those terrifying eyes that look like no other anime character I've ever seen.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, I mean, overall, I like this episode. I like that it was a Ren episode because Ren is awesome. But yeah, I just thought it was a nice welcome change of pace.
Yeah, apparently I just want this show to go all like 19th century bodice ripper, and they're all like, "No, Nanami is mine, you cad!" And then they slap each other, and then that would make it better for me. So you're holding out on me, Uta Pri. Give me what I want. I am your demographic here. Make this happen. Okay. Gonna move on to March Comes In Like a Lion, episode 5, and this episode really gave us everything we'd been missing in terms of the puzzle pieces of where Ray comes from, why he's the way he is, and so on and so forth. And I think it's really interesting what they're doing, how they're kind of portraying him as being like, he's basically a victim of his own talent. Like, he doesn't really want to compete with other people, but his circumstances have forced him to, and now it's like he's the bad guy in other people's like story, and he even sees himself that way. And I can't recall having seen that done too many times. So I'm finding it really, really interesting. What about you, LB?
I really like this episode. This episode hit me really hard. I thought, I agree with you that I really like the way that they're, well, not like is a bad word. I think it's really interesting the way they're portraying Ray and the story of his upbringing and how he's playing shogi to survive, but even though he doesn't even really like it. And it's like, I remember hearing that and being like, wow, that's kind of the story of a lot of our lives. We just kind of go through the motions of something to survive, even though we don't really like it, but he's just, and that's basically what he's doing. He's just kind of going through the emotions. He doesn't like what he does, but he'll do it just to survive. And then the last thing is that line towards the end of the episode. I even posted it in the chat. Basically, I'm looking at it right now. I might even make it into my desktop because I'm just that kind of person. But it's only someone who can maintain himself will continue to make progress. And it's just like, wow. That I remember hearing that and being like, okay, that's kind of deep.
Yeah, and I was watching that thinking, well, there's been my problem all along. I'm not good at maintaining myself. March Comes In Like a Lion, Dad figured it out. Yeah, to tell you the truth, I think I'm still kind of thinking about that, and because I think you could make an argument that he's wrong, too.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's easy. Well, I mean, obviously there's a lot of truth to, yes, if you're self-reliant, you will do better because, there's less that can go wrong. But I think it'll be interesting to see if the show kind of comes up with a refutation to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of what was wrong with Ray's life is because the dude didn't just come out and adopt him straight out, which I think is what he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
But he just, I guess, felt too awkward about it. So he was like, why don't you become my shogi apprentice? And that's what made everything so weird, like, with the other kids. Because if he was adopted, then it would be like, okay, well, here's your brother. But then he comes in as an apprentice. It's like, well, here's someone who's not really a sibling, but he has to live in your house and take attention away from you, and this, that, and the other thing. And so just more terrible parents in anime.
Hey, if you have parents in anime at all, it's still a step up.
You make a good point. And also I really like the way this episode was directed, just like little touches where they, like, in the flashback where they make the sister, I think Kyoko was her name, they make her kind of stand out in the cold because she slapped Ray, and then she you can see her breath, and then she like runs in to like slap him again. And it's just like, it could have been, I mean, considering this is mostly a show about people talking and sitting across the floor from each other, pushing not very artistic looking tiles back and forth, like they do a lot with the visuals.
Yeah, they do.
It's Shimbo directing it, right?
Yeah,
he is series director, but he's not full director.
Oh, really?
There's two. Yeah, there's two directors. I don't remember the name of the other director who has full directing credit. But Shimbo is assisting.
Well,
Okay.
you know what I'm really happy about? That he apparently has leashed his fetish for on-screen text all the time. Because, like, can you imagine if in the middle of this episode you just suddenly saw flashing, like, sadness, loneliness, we are Shaft, this is what we do.
I think that's only if he has full direction where he does that.
I specifically think that's Monogatari too.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, I'm just, because I'm really, I mean, I had zero expectations going into the show. This is one of the ones I didn't even remember was listed to the season until I started watching it, and I'm really been kind of blown away by it, so I don't want anything to kind of knock it down.
Out of curiosity, Karen, did you ever watch Honey and Clover, since the mangaka that made the source material worked on that?
Nope, although I probably will now that I'm so impressed with his other work, so I will. I have to actually compile a physical list of, like, all the anime and stuff I need to watch. I have, like, a mental list, and I've been meaning to make, like, an actual list for, like, weeks now, and I still haven't done it. Maybe before next week. That'll be my homework. Okay, moving on to Kiss Him, Not Me, episode 5. Okay, so we knew the guys were kind of going to go to Asshole Land, and they kind of did, but overall, I like the way they handle it, and especially the way the one guy was kind of like, oh, wait, I realize I really do like her now. It's like I fell in love with her all over again. I thought that was really sweet, despite the assholeness of the other guys at times. Did you think they kind of threaded that needle properly, LB?
Ish. It did make me sad to see them be assholes. I, was kind of hoping that they wouldn't go that direction. I knew they were going to, but part of me, was thinking, ooh, maybe they'll do something different. Maybe they'll swerve, and they didn't really. So that kind of made me sad. They didn't turn the characters into complete and utter assholes, which was nice. And it was still amusing and funny. So I kind of wish that they had stretched it out a little bit more and they didn't make her lose the weight within one episode. That was another little pet peeve of mine. I was like, you know what? If they're going to make her go back to her normal weight, play with it a little bit. Let it go for like 2 episodes.
Yeah, I was asking myself after this episode.
Kind of makes you wonder what her regimen is to lose all that weight in one day.
Oh, we know what it is.
Oh yeah,
they're very detailed.
They gave her a point system.
But I've been asking myself, would the show when I was really felt really self-conscious about my weight, like as a teenager, if I saw a show like this, what would I have thought of it at that time? Like, would I have found it really upsetting or something? And I can't decide, because there are definitely aspects of it I could point to and be like, yeah, I would probably find this kind of cruel and upsetting. But on the other hand, it's just so ridiculous. Like the fact that she goes from like being like 300 pounds to like 90 pounds in like a week, I'm not sure if I'd even be able to take it seriously enough to get mad at it,
Mm-hmm.
So...
My 15-year-old self would be offended at everything that is an anime. Just flat all across.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm kind of imagining a more charitable teenage version of myself that has some version of logic going on. I don't know. Of course I would have been offended when I was 15, because I was 15, I didn't know squat, but,
I think the one thing about this episode that made me the most sad, though, is that they cut away at the very end and they didn't show the kiss. It's like, damn it. That would have been perfect. But, they cut away and it's like, I think if anything, if I had to point to something that made me the most sad, is that they cut away there.
Well, it shows you what an impact it made on me. I don't even remember there was an almost kiss.
Oh no, that was the final reward that
right. Oh, okay. You meant the 2 guys kissing. Okay, I thought you meant someone kissing Kai, and I was like, wait, that happened?
No. Right. No, the 2 guys.
Right,
I was kind of sad that they cut away for there.
All the better to tease us with, I suppose.
I guess.
I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe I just really thought they were going to take the guys are going to go nuts and be really mean to her angle a lot farther than they did. But the red-haired one was like, look, I know she's really nice and stuff, but if I have a choice between having her being really nice and look like that and having her being really nice and be hot, I'd much rather have the hot version. I'm like, well, if he puts it like that, that's not even that asshole-ish. You can't get that mad at him. He's not, So I don't
I mean, at least he was honest.
Yeah. So... I don't know, I'm just so impressed by the novelty of just having a show where they're discussing things like this at all, I guess, that I'm willing to forgive it an awful lot, maybe more than I should, so.
Okay.
Alright, so moving on to Kaiju Girls episode 6 or 7. I don't know, Kaiju Girls is weird. It's like 1 or 2 weeks ahead of everything else. We finally had a big kaiju fight, which I've been asking for the past few weeks, but it was just blah. Like, the Kaiju Girls, like, barely did anything, and then, like, Big Red, or whatever the hell her name is, showed up and was like, oh, I got this, folks. And so it was really kind of a disappointment.
Yeah, it was kind of a throwaway after they were kind of building up that conflict.
Yeah, you know, if Kaiju Girls wasn't 3 minutes, I would drop it.
Yeah.
But it's 3 minutes.
The only thing I liked was just Pigmon's expression when she was trying to tell them to go fight that girl.
Oh yeah, what was she like? She was just like, yes, it's gonna be very dangerous. Go do it. Hee hee.
Yeah, but she kind of had like an authoritative look, despite still sounding adorable.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Are there any good...
This is a show like, alright, since usually most of the Ultraman fights have like a lot of wrestling like moves, this is a type of move where every week you should see like someone getting suplexed through buildings, through the earth.
Yeah, I kind of feel like this
with
show...
like breath attacks and beam attacks and all those giant monster moves.
Yeah, I kind of feel like a lot of shows this season are really kind of like taking their premises and running with them and like doing fun things. Like, not every show, but a lot of them. And then Kaiju Girls is just kind of like, we could be having cool monster fights, but meh, we don't feel like it. Like, what the hell is the point? Anyway. I was going to say, I almost said there's no good shorts this season. Then I remembered Miss Bernard said, which seems to have been made, like, completely for me, because in the last episode, they start making jokes about Proust. I'm like, I'm just watching it like... I don't know how many people are actually enjoying this, but thank you, Japan. Thank you for making it for me. I think that's all that's on the list this week. I have Magical Girl Racing Project, but the only one who's up to date on that is Life Song, and you probably can't talk about it without major spoilers.
Wasn't that LB in Life they were watching Magical Girl Racing Project?
Yeah, but LB didn't get a chance
this week. Yeah, I missed it. I'll be caught up next week, and we can talk about it, and we can also talk about Drifters.
Okay, we'll start with Magical Girl Racing next week then.
Okay.
Alrighty, so I think we're all done. Thanks for listening to us, everybody, and happy.
Say something deep.
Oh man, I gotta be deep?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, if you're self-reliant, it means you rely on yourself more. And that's good. Yep, there you go. There's depth for you, people. That's the kind of depth you can only get from this podcast. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Oyasumi nasai.